Well, hello and welcome to Extra Time here on LCFC Radio and LCFC TV. Happy Bank Holiday Monday as well to everybody that's listening today. And I'm sure there'll be a number of you listening maybe on the way or at the airport as you head out to Rome this week for that huge second leg in the UEFA Europa Conference League. We'll talk about that game mainly here on Extra Time. Obviously, we'll touch upon the game at Spurs, the defeat at Spurs as well yesterday. Before we do any of that, though, we'll introduce our guests, Tony Cottee and Gerry Taggart. Gerry, did you have a nice weekend? Obviously, Sunday you were working with us.
Yeah, I've been busy all weekend, Dan. I did a bit of moonlighting on Saturday for Talk Sport at Wolves Brighton. And then obviously the game yesterday. So yeah, I missed out on the bank holiday. And then obviously here today. So yeah, it's been quite a busy weekend for me.
Yeah, working weekend for Gerry. Tony, quite the opposite really for you until today.
Yeah, unusually for me, Dan. As you well know, my weekends normally revolve around lots of football. But after going to watch West Ham's first leg on last Thursday and the disappointment that followed that, I had a weekend off from football because I had one of my close friends got married on Saturday, so I had to. Well, didn't have to, but I did go to the wedding, obviously, he's my mate. So, and then it was my nephew's 21st birthday yesterday, so we had a little family gathering around my sister's house. So, yeah, very much a personal weekend as opposed to a professional one, Dan, which makes a nice change of mind.
And West Ham lost anyway yesterday, so you didn't miss too much at the London Stadium.
Moving on swiftly.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll be doing the same really with what happened at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as well, Gerry. Strange game, wasn't it? I think that the whole attitude from the supporters to everyone involved was just not wrong. I get that that's not the right word at all that I'm trying to say, but it was just clearly focus is on Thursday, isn't it? And the supporters that were there on Sunday at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, their focus is Thursday and Rome as well.
Yeah, I think I said yesterday, I think all eggs are firmly in the Europa Conference League basket, aren't they, for this coming Thursday. Like you say, a bit of a strange game. Started well, Leicester. Tottenham, in all fairness, you got to say, don't look that great, apart from the front three. And in the end, that was the difference. The front three were exceptional on yesterday on Sunday and got Tottenham over the line. As I said, Leicester started the game well. Had a couple of opportunities, couple of half chances. And unfortunately, were punished at the other end of the pitch for not capitalising on those half chances and opportunities. And in particular, Patson Daka, he had a good shot on target. Keeper makes a great save. Not quite as clean a shot as he probably would have liked. I think it hit his left standing foot on its way towards goal. But all the same, you've got to credit Hugo Lloris for bringing off a good save. But yeah, the first 20 minutes or so were pretty encouraging as far as Leicester were concerned. But that, conceding the goal yet again from a set piece is not good. It's not a good thing from a Leicester point of view.
Yeah, well, how do you think Leicester will react from that game, Tony? Obviously, when you look at the face of it, they had 61% of possession away at Tottenham, having made 8 changes. So clearly, the players that came in did well to dominate the ball. They had those chances. They had certainly the better of it in the first half an hour, pretty much until Tottenham scored.
Yeah, and there was a handball incident as well, wasn't there, Dan? That perhaps, in my opinion, could have been a penalty, and it changes the game. Always difficult when you make 8 changes. We know that because it upsets the team balance in terms of defensively. We all know what's been going on all season. Having said all that, as Tag said, and I agree with him, I watched the highlights and it looked like Leicester totally dominated that first 30 minutes of the game, really. And yet after half an hour, you're losing 1-0, because of a poor goal to concede from yet another corner. So frustrating from that point of view. And I thought it was really interesting, Brendan's interview afterwards, talking about aggression and something to put right for next season. We all know what the problems have been from set pieces. You just hope, there's nothing to come in the next sort of few weeks that's going to, hinder Leicester, because it has been a massive problem. It was a difficult game. I've seen Tottenham quite a lot this season, and they're that sort of team where they don't really do a lot. They can get put under pressure like they did in the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And yet they've got 2 world-class strikers. And, that is the difference, really, I think, for Tottenham. And the reason that Tottenham are going for the Champions League is because of those 2 players. If I look at the rest of the team, I don't see too much to worry about. But when you've got those two players, it makes a massive difference because you know you're going to score goals.
Yeah, and they had to rely on Lloris as well, Joey, didn't they? As we've touched upon, that was a brilliant save actually from Daka, and yes, maybe it was a little bit of a scuff from Daka, but it was going in the bottom corner. We'd have all said brilliant finish had it gone in, but none of us realised, I don't think, that Lloris had touched it until that one slow-mo replay.
Yeah, I think, if it had been a pure strike from Patson Daka, then Lloris doesn't get there, and that's the only. It's not a criticism. It's just the way things panned out. With the ball hitting the stand of it just takes enough pace off it. And when you actually watch it in the replay, it sort of bubbles along the ground. And that sort of tells you that there's a bit of pace that's been taken off the strike. And that's what enables Lloris to get across and just get a couple of fingertips to it. If that's a clean strike, it ends up in the bottom corner. No, I've got no doubt about that. Lloris isn't able to get across and get that because he was just about to get a fingertip on it with the pace that was already on the ball. So yeah, no, it was a really good effort from Patson Daka. I'm not criticising him. The ball came through a few bodies. He had to adjust slightly to get a shot off. There was a couple of defenders in the way who were running back towards goal. So it was a difficult chance to convert. Just unfortunate, as you say, that Lloris, gets across, gets down and gets a couple of really good fingertips to get it away.
Do you think it was a penalty, the handball incident from Son?
Dearie me, yeah.
Take your defender's cap off, Tags.
No. I've seen them given, and I've seen them not given. Dan, it's one of them ones. It's how you interpret it. I'm sure it would have been looked at by the VAR, and it's purely down to interpretation. It wasn't, in my opinion, as clear cut as someone sticking the hand away from their body and hitting them on the hand. But yes, his elbow was up in the air. It's clearly touched him. But as I say, his arm was still by his side, even though his elbow was sticking out. So it's one of them ones where you can see why he didn't give it, but there was definitely a shout for that. And probably not enough was made of it at the time. I know one or two players were remonstrating with the referee that he had handled the ball. But I think probably more should have been made of it. And I'd say the VAR checked it and they didn't see anything wrong. So it was purely down to interpretation for me from the VAR.
I do enjoy having, we always have like defenders on here and strikers on here, whether it's Tony or Ewan or Matt and Gerry, and there's always a differing opinion when it maybe comes to something like that. And you with your striker's cap on, Tony, you always want to see goals, don't you? You think that was a penalty. And as Jerry's rightly said, you have seen those given quite often in the Premier League over the past couple of seasons.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. And, you always have different views as a striker. Your faults are always to score goals and create goals and have more goals. And quite rightly, Tags' faults as a defender is to stop goals. And Tags doesn't want to see more goals because he's a defender. That was his job, and he was brilliant at it as well. But as a striker, I've always felt that handball, I've always said we're playing football, not handball. And if it hits you on the hand, I believe it should be a penalty. I know there's an argument, his arms aren't up there or he's trying to keep them down his side, but my argument's always been it's like when they say Tags mentioned the Wolves-Brighton game there. I think you said you've done that, Tags, didn't you?
Yeah.
There was the first penalty there where the lad put his arm out. And people always say, it didn't mean to hit him on the arm. But you've then got, my argument is always, if the ball goes past his arm, is there a possibility of a goal being scored? And the answer would be yes. And you look at what happened with Perez. Perez takes it on his chest. He's trying to get the ball into a position where he can have a shot, and it hits Son on the arm. So whether he means it, doesn't mean it, where his arm is, to me, it should be irrelevant and it should be a penalty. Having said all that, I totally agree with Tags. It's all about interpretation. I think it's a very loose rule at the moment with the handball scenario. I think it's developed over the years into a scenario that most of us don't understand, including the three of us today. And then you've then also got the added distraction now of a VAR. So not only are you getting one opinion, you're getting a second opinion at Stockley Park who might have a completely different opinion to what the referee might think. And I think I'm right in saying the VAR is to spot a clear and obvious mistake. I think that's the wording they always seem to use, Dan. And, was it a mistake by the referee in not giving the penalty? That's probably what they thought. And then because of that, they didn't want to make the referee look silly, so they don't give the penalty. But I don't know. I think, it would have still been a long way to go. But if Leicester go a goal up instead of a goal down, you're looking at a completely different result.
Yeah, yet again, it's one of those, had it been given, it won't have been overturned by VAR. So I think that sums it up a little bit. Right, let's move on from that. Perez was involved in quite a lot, Gerry, wasn't he? He did a brilliant little run at one point where he flicked the ball over the defender, went for the shot. He mishit the shot, but Daka was inches away, wasn't he? I don't know whether he might have been offside, but he was inches away from getting on the end of it. And again, that would have been 1-0 Leicester.
Yeah, this is probably another one for TC, to be honest with you. Great anticipation. You could see, once he's flicked it over and controlled it, Perez, he's going to shoot. But what Patson Daka does brilliantly, anticipates the shot and Perez missing the shot. He probably thinks, right, if he hits a target, the keeper might save it. I've got to be in a position to put the rebound back in. So it's great anticipation from Patson Daka to try and get on the end of that. Unfortunately, Perez doesn't hit the target. He scuffs his shot to the left. And unfortunately, as you say, he's trying his best, Daka, to get in on that. And unfortunately, just can't get his big toe on the end of it. But, you've got to give him credit for reading that situation, being on the front foot, and at least trying, to get on the end of the shot from Ayoze Perez.
It's interesting, look, what you're saying there about that anticipation, because that's something that it's very difficult to teach a striker. I think, a lot of strikers, it's an inbuilt talent and a reaction. And, I always used to try, when I was playing, you always try and think the worst. So, in other words, you don't stand there thinking, Perez is going to score or Perez is going to hit the target. You're actually thinking in your mind, he might scuff this, or it might hit the defender and break to me. And that's where you've got to be on the front foot. And I think, to be fair to Daka, we know Jamie Vardy does it, but Daka, I think he's got that reaction in him. And I think he was unlucky that he didn't get the ball, but it was a great effort made for it. But I think that's the key to it as a striker. You've got to be trying to anticipate. You're trying to think differently to the defenders. The defenders are thinking it's going to go towards the goal, the goalkeeper's going to save it, etc. As a forward, you're thinking differently.
Harry Kane certainly showed his initiative, didn't he, for the goal, Tony? And he's got a ridiculous record against Leicester City, having been on loan, of course, at the Foxes early in his career. Since then, he seems to score against Leicester pretty much every single time he plays against them. And it was just disappointingly, obviously, another goal conceded from a corner. Leicester had been a lot better with that recently, but Kane is he's just so good, isn't he, Tony?
Yeah, he's a wonderful player, Dan, and Tags might not want me to say this, but hopefully he's the player that's going to win England the World Cup later in the year. But he's, listen, whatever you think about other teams, other players, you cannot deny the fact that he is an incredible player. You mentioned his goal scoring record, Dan. It's weird because sometimes you have clubs that you just score goal after goal after goal against, and unfortunately, I think from Leicester's point of view, Harry just seems to do that, doesn't he, against Leicester? And it's frustrating. You can't explain why that he's targeted Leicester. He doesn't target other teams, because there will be other teams that Harry will go into the game and say, oh, God, we're playing against them. I never score against them. And then there's other teams like Leicester. I'm sure you know those sort of, when you know that you score against a team, you can't wait to get out of the pitch, because you know you don't think you're going to score. You know you're going to score. And, he's a top player. From Leicester's point of view, I watched it very closely this morning. I stopped it and paused it quite a few times, and it appeared that they was man-for-man marking, which is certainly drifting away. Tags will explain this a lot better than me, but it's drifting away from the zonal marking that caused so much havoc early in the season. But having said all that, if you do get man-for-man, and the one thing you can do, and I've always said this about man-for-man marking from corner, if Harry Kane scores, you look at who was marking Harry Kane in the first place, and pointing the fingers a bit harsh, but you can say to Daniel Amartey, Daniel, what are you doing? What are you thinking? And this is what I think Brendan was touching on when he said about aggression from the corners. That Leicester needs to be more aggressive, and it's hard. Again, like I was talking about finish-up, from a defender's point of view, it's hard to bring aggression into a play. You've either got it like Tags had it, Matt Elliott had it, you know, Walsh had it. You know, it's there. It's a natural thing that defenders have got. If you haven't got it, then you have to switch on. And if you switch off, albeit for half a second, or if you look one way and the striker's gone, which is a trick I used to, as soon as a defender looked at you, you go. And because you can't be doing two things at once. And that's exactly what Harry's done. It's a fantastic run. The delivery is brilliant, just from Leicester's point of view. You know, and even blaming Daniel with letting Harry run, it's gone into a space, so it's gone over someone's head. You know, is there no one else who could, you know, sometimes, again, please get Tags to talk about this. Sometimes, although you're marking your man, go and hit the ball. If it's coming near you, don't say, oh, that's not my ball, because you've got to clear the ball. The most important thing is always the ball. It's not your man, because if the ball's coming to the walls, you head the ball away, then worry about where your man is. Tags, over to you, mate. I mean, I don't know what you thought about it, but such a poor goal to concede, isn't it?
No, you make a good point. I think it's Jose Perez gets dragged out from his near post position, 6 yard. He's on the middle of the 6 yard box, and he gets dragged. I think there's a little run from one of the players, and he just follows him instead of just waiting to see how to fly the ball. If he actually stands still, Jose Perez, he heads that ball away. But because he gets dragged out towards the corner, and that's the second part of your point where you're saying if you're in that area, go and head it. And all they're doing is following men in that near post space area, then I think there you can afford to give yourself an extra half a second to see the flight of the ball, to see how the ball is coming in. And then if it is a 0-1 and it is going toward, then you can get on the front foot and go and attack that ball at the near post, or you can stand your ground, wait for the ball to come in and flick it. But because he gets dragged underneath it, and you see Jose Perez makes a jump for it and he just misses it because he's half a yard too far in front of the near post. As far as Daniel Amati is concerned, I think when you're talking about Brendan's interview, Harry Kane just pushes him off the ball too easily. And I think that's where he means about the aggression. There's also a block from Eric Dyer, and he can't see that block, Daniel Amati. And it's only a little faint one. It just puts him off slightly. He has to readjust his run slightly, Dan Amati. But that's just enough to give Harry Kane that extra foot of space to get into that space and head the ball in. The other thing is Dan Amati's not watching where the flight of the ball. He's literally solely watching Harry Kane. So he can't adjust or see the flight of the ball. And it's a difficult skill to master, Dan, but this is where, over time and experience, you learn to do that as a defender, where you have one eye on the player you're marking and one eye on where the ball is coming in from, and you're seeing the flight, the pace of it. And as Tony says, sometimes if you judge that flight of the ball, you've got to leave your marker and just go, right, I'm going to head this. Yes, you've got to make sure you get your head on it. But once you make that decision as a defender, then you have to go all out to try and get your head on it. And I think for Dan Amati, one, he got pushed off the ball too easily. There's then the little block from Eric Dyer. And in the end, as Tony said, the ball has to be absolutely spot on. And it was, to be fair, from Son.
2 good goals from Son himself, Tony. One of them, world-class, really. Brilliant left-footed strike.
Oh, beautiful goal down there. I mean, sometimes you have to just admire what a player does. You know, there's been plenty of good players over the years. And as I said earlier, you know, for me, Harry Kane and Son, the way they link up, I love their partnership, their play. You know, Harry creates for Son, Son creates for Harry, etc. But the third goal, I mean, the second goal was a good goal as well, by the way. I mean, you can point fingers at Soyuncu in terms of the tackle. It was, well, I can't really call it a tackle. It was just poor defending. And then they break, lovely little ball, touch and swivel. That in itself technically was a really hard goal to finish off. Great touch and swivel. But the third goal was just pure class, absolutely pure class. First touch, drag it onto your left foot and just whip and curl. And I mean, they've got these wonderful cameras now that are in the back of the goal net. And I just love the view you get, because you almost get the goalkeeper's view and you're sort of seeing it almost from Casper's point of view. And the moment he hits it, Casper dives. And I don't even think he's within 6 foot of the ball. He's gone so high and up and into the top corner, and it almost to the point as if Casper had been standing where the camera was, he still wouldn't have saved it. It was a wonderful goal, not from Leicester's point of view, obviously, but just from a pure footballing genius point of view. I just thought it was a special goal. Must have a great chance of winning goal of the month competition, I would have thought, because those sort of goals, you know, and he knew it was a special goal as well, Son. He's had a wonderful season, scored lots of goals, but that's by far his best so far.
It was only a consolation from Kelechi and Nacho Tone, but it was a pretty good strike as well, wasn't it? We've seen him do that a lot of times in a Leicester shirt.
Yeah, he's got it in his locker, Dan, hasn't he? You know, and I'm a big fan of Kelechi, and you know, you always feel that there's more he can do, etc. and that. But you know, it was a great goal. It was a really good goal. You know, good ball from Tielemans, played him into the space. Still got a lot to do. Little shimmy, moves it onto his left foot. And you know, we all know he's got a wonderful left foot. It's a really good strike as well. And that camera behind the goal that I was just talking about, not quite as dramatic as Son's one, but you have the camera behind the goal and you see Lloris go across, just gets his fingertips to it, but it's hit the post and gone in because it was that much of a quality strike and a lot more pace in it. And like Tags was saying, if Thacker had hit his one as true as what Kelechi did, that certainly would have been 1-0. But in the end, it was just another sort of really, really good consolation goal, unfortunately, for Kelechi.
Right, let's look ahead to Thursday then. The massive second leg away in Rome. Gerry, 8 changes obviously were made by Brendan Rodgers. 6 were made by Mourinho for Roma. So clearly both managers looking ahead to this second leg on Thursday. In terms of Brendan Rodgers' team selection on Thursday, how different will it be? Well, obviously we know very different to Sunday, to yesterday, but how different to the first leg will it be?
Good question. Not that different, much different, I would say. Dan, obviously, Jamie Vardy came on yesterday, got 24 minutes or something like that under his belt. And so there's a question for Brendan Rodgers, you know, with Kelechi scoring. I think the formation will be the same. So he'll revert back to back 4. I think Ricardo will come in and either Justin or Castagna. You've got Tielemans to come back, then Dewsbury Hall, James Maddison, Harvey Barnes, Lookman. So it's whether or not for me, them 2 start, Lookman and Harvey Barnes. I think Jamie Vardy will start, but it's whether or not he plays both wide players on the pitch at the same time. We've seen in Eindhoven and against Rome, where one has started, the other one hasn't. Mark Albrighton has started on the right-hand side. So that will be, obviously Mark Albrighton started yesterday. So that will be one of the issues that Brendan will have to get his head around. But as far as everybody else, I think you'll see the whole back line change near enough. Maybe apart from Castagna, I don't know. And the midfield 3 I've just mentioned will come straight back in. And possibly Jimmy Vardy will start.
Who do you think will be the happier of the 2 managers? Probably Mourinho, Tony, from the first leg with what happened in Leicester. Leicester had the majority of possession, the majority of the ball, the majority of chances.
Yeah, I think you know Jose did what we probably all thought he was going to do. You come to the KP, make it difficult, pack the defence out, defend, and get a result of some sort, and that would have been the tactics for him to achieve a 1-1 draw. You know, I think going a goal up obviously always changes the dynamics of a European night. I was at West Ham myself, and an early goal went in for Frankfurt completely changes the dynamics. Not just from the players' point of view, but from the supporters' point of view as well, because everyone's so excited. It's the semi-final, Leicester's first ever semi-final. Everyone's so excited, and of course you go a goal behind, and there's just that natural flatness that you get from the fan. Like, oh no, it's not going to be our night. You know, we're going to concede 2 or 3, and all that sort of stuff. So it does change the dynamics. In answer to your question, Dan, I think Mourinho possibly just slightly the more happier, but I think from Leicester's point of view, and as we've been talking about all throughout this European campaign, once it goes into the knockout stages, with there being no away goals, it does change the dynamics of the football match. There's no doubt about that, you know. And you know, for example, you know, Leicester can go to Roma and draw 0-0, extra time penalties, and go through. Whereas before, you know, that away goal, Leicester couldn't draw 0-0. So it has changed things. I'm still trying to work out whether it's beneficial for the game, whether it's good. It appears to be more better for the home team first leg as opposed to the away team. So is that a good thing? I don't know. You never quite know with UEFA what they're thinking is about. I think the original idea of away goals was to more goals and not so much defensive performances. So we'll have to see how it develops again next season. But from Leicester's point of view, everything to play for. Mourinho probably 60% happy, and Brendan probably 40% happy. There's not a lot in it. You're level. It's half time. It's literally like a normal match where you come in 0-0, 1-1, 2-2 at half time, and then you go again for the second half. That's exactly where we are with it. So nothing to worry about from Leicester's point of view. In fact, I am extremely confident that Leicester will go and get the result they need, because I know how good Leicester are away from home, and they've got their back four players back, which makes such a massive difference.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually, you make about the away goals. They would be going to Rome knowing they had to score, wouldn't they, this time last season?
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. And that's the point I'm making. It's so changed things. So if you look at it from Roma, switch the argument around from Roma's point of view, in the old days, you say, oh, great, we've got the away goal, happy days. That means Leicester have got to come and have a go. But it doesn't mean that anymore, because Leicester don't have to come and have a go. Leicester can, if they want to. I don't think they will, but if they wanted to, they could do it. Mourinho, they could park the bus. They could just keep 11 players behind the ball and say, "Go on, then break us down. We'll take a 0-0. We'll take a 0-0. We'll go to penalties." Leicester could do that, so it's really, really changed it. I think the way Leicester play, I don't think they will do that. I don't think Brendan would want to do that. I think they will go there. You want to try and put a performance on for the fans, but ultimately, we're into results territory now. We're not into pleasing the fans, putting in great performances and losing 4-3 and things like that. This is all about the result now. And, Tags will know what I mean. Yeah, you get to the semi-final, and there's only one thing that matters, and that's getting through to the final. And that's, you just want Leicester, get the team right. Tags touched on the team there. You get the formation right, get the players right, pick the right ones, and then to have players to come on, which Leicester had, that can change a game and make an impact. And that's one thing where I think they might just have a bit of an advantage. I think if you look at players to come on and change the game, I think Leicester will have some really, really good options on Thursday.
Yeah, how do you see it going, Gerry, on Thursday? The nerves are starting already. We're, 3 days away, but it's getting to that territory already.
Yeah, it's hardly analysed, Dan, but it may work out that Brendan goes early in attack, but may be well forced back by Roma coming out of their shell. We don't know. I thought Roma started the game really positively, and then sort of as the game went on, they just reverted back to Mourinho type. But that's not how they started the game. And so, if you look at the second leg, I think it slightly favours Leicester, because Roma will be expected to come out and take the game to Leicester. And so you might see Leicester being put on the back foot inadvertently. But that doesn't mean that will be their ploy. It just means that Roma, being the home team with the 72,000 fans, the atmosphere and everything else, it may just things work out that way sometimes in a game of football, even though that's not the tactics that you set up to go out with. So it's all about being resilient, like the word in Rennes. It's all about being resilient, like the word at PSV. You're going to have to soak up pressure. It goes without saying. But then we talked about big moments in football, decision-making in the final third. And that's what Leicester have to get right. If they had got that right last Thursday, as I said, they probably would have went 2, maybe 3-1 into this leg. Unfortunately, that wasn't the way. I think Roma were by far the happier coming out. They didn't really create anything after they scored the goal. I think Hotspur had one save to make at his near post, which you would expect them to make. If he'd have let that in later on in the game, he'd have been very disappointed. Now, so for me, Leicester is about carrying on the good work they've done away from home this season in this competition. And what we need to see a little bit more of is the goal that Harvey Barnes created, those giving and going, forward pass, following your pass, getting the return pass, and then breaking the lines. Because what Roma will definitely do is defend deep. They won't allow the space in behind. You've seen that on Thursday night. I don't think that will change for Roma. They'll still want to make sure that they're safe in behind, and they'll be on the front foot defending like they were on Thursday night against Leicester at King Power. So it's down to Leicester to have little quick passes, give and goes, down the flanks, get good low quality crosses into the box, and make sure you've got people coming into the box and trying to get on the end of it. And covering all bases like we've seen in PSV, i.e. for the winning goal, Ricardo Pereira taking up that back post position and just hoping and praying that something comes his way. But definitely, they're well in this game. But they've got to be resilient like they were in Rennes. They've got to be resilient like they were in Eindhoven. It's as simple as that.
It'll be interesting, Tags, to see how Roma approach the game as well. Because
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm trying to put myself in their position. So, you've got your 1-1 draw, which is a great result for them. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Then what do you do then going into this second leg? Mourinho, as we know, he is a defensive manager. Is he going to say to the boys, push on and try and get a goal, get in front, etc.? Because if they do that, that plays into Leicester's hands, because Leicester will want to defend. They'll want them to come out and take the game to Leicester. And on the counter-attack, as I've already said, wonderful players going forward that gives Leicester great options, providing that final ball's right, like what you said, Tags. But it'll be, it'll be really, really interesting to see what their tactics are, Roma, how they approach the game. Will they just be passing it around? Will it be a bit of an impasse in the first half? I think it will be a very tactical game. I'm not sure it's going to be an all-out or flowing football game. I think it will be a very nervy, defensive type of ticky-tacky football type the first half, and then we might see it open up in the second half. Yeah,
I agree. That's why it's so hard to analyse, TC, because you don't know tactically how Roma are going to approach it. They drew 0-0 at home yesterday against Bologna, who are like 13th in the league. Which obviously for a team like Roma, who, all right, they're 10 points behind Juventus, I think, in 4th place. They're not going to reach the Champions League, but they've dropped away from 5th to 6th because of that draw yesterday. So disappointing. They're at home. You'd have thought they would have had a better, even though they made 6 changes, you would have thought, they'd have got over the line against a team like Bologna, but they didn't. So it'll be interesting to see how tactically he approaches the game on Thursday night, because sneakily, I think with the away goals being taken out, it stops the home team now sitting back and defending deep and protecting that away goal. So it favours the away team in the second leg, strangely enough, which I think is actually good for the game, because you're expected to come out, take the game to the opposition as the home team, but we all know that is not a tactic that Jose Mourinho employs. So it's a really difficult one to try and analyse before we actually kick off. As Tony says, I wouldn't expect them to go gung-ho, try and take the game to Leicester, all-out attack. But on the flip side, what we seen last Thursday night was a very functional Roma team hit Leicester on the counter-attack and get on the score sheet. And you may well see the same on Thursday night. Protect what you've got. And because you're at home, can we string a few more passes together and get on the front foot, on the counter-attack, and hit Leicester again? So you may well see similar tactics.
How important will it be, Tony, to draw on the experiences, as Gerry's referenced, of Rennes and of PSV? Because in both of those games, at times, Leicester were really under the cosh, really under pressure. The atmospheres were brilliant in both of those games. We know it's going to be volatile, hostile, every word you can imagine in Rome, with 70-odd thousand Romans cheering their team on. So they really need to draw on those experiences of coming through tough occasions.
Yeah, and they've already done that, Dan, haven't they? That's different. It's going to be different circumstances. It's going to be more a larger crowd. It's going to be probably a more passionate crowd as well. We know what the Italians are like. I'm sure the atmosphere will be wonderful. But these are the games you want to play in, and the players have had the European experience. A lot of the players, if not most of the players, are internationals as well. So it's not like a Leicester team going in, totally unprepared and never really experienced continental football. It's the complete opposite. Leicester have got a team, got some good youngsters, obviously, as we know, but there's some really, really experienced players in that team that know how to handle it. And you rely on the likes of Jamie Vardy, who's going to be instrumental in what goes on. Casper's a very, very experienced goalkeeper. You've got Yuri Tillemans, still a young lad, but he's been playing for Belgium. You know, these players have got experience. I think, you know, trying to put myself in the position of Leicester player, you're going to look forward to this. You're really going to look forward to it. You know you're capable of getting the results because they've already proved this season. They've had a couple of iffy results in the sort of group section of the Europa League. We know that. But since they've gone into this competition, they've taken it seriously. And also the players as well, they'll be looking at the league table. And I know they've got 5 Premier League games left, but they're not, unless there's some sort of miracle, they're not going to qualify for Europe through that league position, are they? So it's so important for the players, you know, to go out, professional performance, get the result that I've spoken about, and keep your European dreams alive for next season. Get back into that Europa League because that's where Leicester City need to be. Yeah, of course, this is a good experience. Semi-finals of a European competition for the first time ever. Get to the final of a competition would be wonderful for the club. The club needs to be in that Europa League and pushing on. You know, they've been so close to the Champions League, haven't they, the last couple of seasons? And it's onwards and upwards. Get everyone fit for next season, and then Leicester can look forward to a really good season. But nothing to fear on Thursday night. Nothing to fear. Everything to look forward to. And those players, I think there'll be a relaxed attitude at training this week because they've got the sort of distraction of the Tottenham game out of the way from yesterday. And you now start focusing, start concentrating. You know you've got a big game coming up, and just go and enjoy it.
It's clear how much the players want it, Gerry, isn't it? As much as the supporters.
Oh, without a doubt. You know, we were fortunate enough to be in Eindhoven, Dan. And, you know, speaking to some of the players afterwards, they were cock a hoot that they got through that quarter-final. So, yeah, it goes without saying that, you know, unfortunately, you know, the league form has dipped something, but it is fair to say that they are really looking forward to this game against Roma, and they really want to do well. I mean, they want to go all the way in this. So, you know, fingers crossed for everybody that's the case come Thursday.
Absolutely. Thursday. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff English time, of course. So Matchday Live will start from 6:30. So please do join us for that. There's lots of other, quickly before we do the other results of the weekend, lots of other British interest as well in Europe, Gerry. Obviously, Manchester City, 4-3 winners against Real Madrid. That's a big second leg for them. Liverpool 2-0 up against Villarreal. West Ham, we know they lost at home to Frankfurt, and Rangers lost 1-0 to Leipzig as well. But they've got their second leg at home. All 4 ties really for the British clubs. There's absolutely still everything to play for. Or all 5. Obviously.
Yeah, all without a doubt. You know, it's quite incredible. You know, the amount of British teams, English teams that are still in contention of reaching the final of their respective competitions. So it's going to be an exciting week. I think Liverpool are probably the biggest favourites, in fairness, to reach a Champions League final. I was lucky enough to be at that game last week, Liverpool against Villarreal. And I think, you know, after watching that game, they're probably the biggest favourites to reach the final. I think Man City have got a tough tie away at Real Madrid. I don't think that game's over by any stretch of the imagination. And as far as same with Rangers, you know, they've got a tough tie, but they've still got a chance. And I think West Ham's got a bit of an uphill battle as well, but you never know. That's the beauty of, we've seen it so many times in the past where teams have been multiple goals down and have come back from that because strange things happen in these competitions.
Could all 5 British teams go through, Tony?
I think they could, Dan, yeah. I mean, I'm not one of these fans that, you know, I don't want other teams to get into a final. I've never quite got that sort of mentality. I mean, I'm a child of the sort of late 60s, early 70s, growing up watching the likes of Liverpool and all the Aston Villas and Manchester United, all these teams playing in finals. And, you know, my team, West Ham, obviously never got too far in those competitions. But, you know, I always used to like the English clubs. You know, Forest, you know, had a couple of wonderful years, didn't they? You know, there's always been real interest from the English teams. And I've always wanted them to do well. I think there's a genuine chance. I don't know what the odds would be. It'd probably be a nice little bet to do, especially with West Ham, you know, trailing 2-1 from that first leg against Frankfurt. Rangers conceded a late goal. So you would probably say that at the moment, you know, West Ham and Rangers are probably the two outside bets of the 5 to get through. Leicester, we've already spoken about. I think they will get to the final. And Liverpool, I don't think they're going to have any problems. I think they're just too good for Villarreal. I think the intriguing game of all the ones that we're talking about has got to be Real Madrid-Man City. I mean, that was one of the best games of football I've seen in a long, long time. You know, that 4-3 at the Etihad was a wonderful game of football, and let's hope it's more of the same when they play each other. But yeah, I genuinely believe that there's a real chance, an outside chance because of the results, but there's a genuine chance that we could have 5 teams in the final, which would be brilliant for British football.
Tony, you're obviously busy with your weddings and birthday parties, but I'm sure you've seen the highlights of other games and any results that maybe had you checking your phone while you were at both of those events.
Yeah, well, I mean, although I was at the party yesterday, obviously I was glimpsing of what was going on in the West Ham game, but I think the one that really caught my eye was the one before that, Dan. And I mean, you talk about high pressure games, you know, I actually quite fancied Everton to beat Chelsea. I think Chelsea have gone off the ball, as we know, a little bit in the last 3 or 4 weeks, you know, for many reasons. You know, the atmosphere at Goodison was always going to be fantastic. And, you know, you saw the scenes with the crowd and the blue flares, etc. And they made it a really, really wonderful atmosphere for the players to play in. And, you know, it was a great result. They're not out of danger yet. I mean, they're still 2 points behind. Me and Tags both know, would you rather be 2 points behind with a game in hand, or would you rather have the points? We'd rather have the points very much, yeah, all day long. It's going to be very, very difficult. But, you know, great result for Everton. It gives them a real chance. It's going to be fascinating because Watford and Norwich have gone now, but then you look at the Burnley, Leeds, Everton. I think that's going to be a real battle right to the very end.
Jerry?
Yeah, similar. But then on the back of that, I have to say Burnley again, just on this incredible run. You know, and don't get me wrong, there were some big results at the weekend. You know, Man City going to Leeds, winning 4 after watching Liverpool beat Newcastle 1-0. I mean, what a pressure pot that was. But the form Burnley are in at the minute, it's quite incredible, isn't it? All right, they've gone to Watford and beat Watford, but after going to go down, I've seen the highlights of that game. Not a great game of football, if I'm being honest. But they just keep piling the pressure on, don't they? And you know, as Tony said, that game yesterday for Everton was an absolute must-win. I mean, fair play to Frank Lampard and his players, because going into that game, there must have been an almighty amount of pressure on them to win them. But yeah, Burnley just keep, you know, pulling out these magnificent results from somewhere, and they're not going away. They're not going lightly after, you know, a couple of weeks ago they were firm favourites to get relegated.
Right, let's finish extra time then with our football Jenga. Quite a simple one.
This will be good.
To be fair, I don't want to do you a disservice. I'm not sure how long it'll last. But it's quite a simple one, right? There's 20 teams in Serie A in Italy that play alongside Thursday's opponents, Roma. So yeah, any of the 20 teams in Italy's top division. And Tony, you can kick us off, please.
I'm not sure this will take too long, this one, Dan, but I'll go Juventus.
I'll go Roma.
AC Milan.
I'll go Inter.
The last time I looked at the Italian league was years ago, but I'll go for names that spring to mind. Lazio, I'll go.
Bologna.
Here we go, Tags. Udinese.
Fiorentina.
Good one, Tags. Torino.
Yeah.
Oh, what guess?
I was going to say that too. Okay, Napoli.
Oh, yeah, Tags, I was going to say that.
There was one big one left.
Yeah. Oh, now we're in trouble. Calgary, they got a team?
Yeah. Watch out, that.
I'm just thinking of places in Italy. Who you gone, Tex?
Genoa.
Great answer.
Oh, you killed me, Tex.
You're doing well here.
Oh,
There's only 8 left. So you got 12 so far out of 20.
I think, come on. I'm not going to get one down. Well, we got same. Who started? Tags, did he? Or did I start?
No, you started. So yeah, Jerry will have to get one then.
I'm not going to come up with one. I can't think of one. No, I'll pass it to Tags if he gets it. I can't think of one all day if I'm me trying to get one. Go on, Tags.
Has Udinese been said?
Yeah, it's been said. Yeah.
Cremonese? Is there a Cremonese?
No.
No. Sounds good.
Right, one of the teams, they went on a really good Champions League run a few seasons ago.
Atalanta.
Yeah, well done. Well done.
Give us a phone. Come on, give us a phone.
Yeah, it was hinted. Well done, Jerry. Well done. Yeah, 13 out of the 20. So what's that? 65%. I think that's pretty good then.
Name the other ones.
Empoli, Salernitana, Sampdoria, Sassuolo, Spezia, Venezia, and Verona.
Sampdoria. Okay, Sampdoria.
Yeah, that's probably the only one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I thought that was quite good for me.
Yeah, you did well.
That was quite good for me and you.
When I was,
I was thinking Parma, but they're not there, are they?
Well, yeah. This morning I was writing. I was thinking, do I do Serie A and Serie B as well? But then I thought, there's no point in going with that many. Like,
I think that was irrelevant, Serie B.
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. All right, well, thank you very much to the two of you. Tony, enjoy Germany if you're going. I don't know if you are.
Yes, I'm going down, yeah, looking forward to it. But it'll be a tough game, but I'm fingers crossed both West Ham and Leicester get through.
Yeah, hopefully so. As we've said already, it's an 8 o'clock kickoff on Thursday, so join us for Matchday Live from 6:30 for that huge second leg against Roma. Obviously, keep an eye across all of Leicester City's social media channels and lcfc.com. There'll be loads and loads of content on there looking ahead to that big game on Thursday. So brilliant. Thank you very much to everyone who watched and listened today. Have a nice bank holiday. Safe travels over to Italy if you're going, and hopefully we'll be coming back and speaking this time next week about the Foxes being European finalists.